Hi, my name is Jason Buffington. I'm the Senior Analyst at ESG covering data protection. Please follow me on Twitter as jbuff. When you're choosing a data protection strategy, there's a few things that have to come to mind. First and foremost, though, you need to think about the fact that data protection is more than just backup. Data protection includes a range of activities, including backups, plus snapshots, plus replication, plus archive. But even if we just pare it down to backup, there's still a lot of choices that need to be considered. You have to think about on-premise solutions, cloud-centric solutions, or hybrid architectures. So we have lots of choices when that comes to it. So let's talk about that for a second. In some recent ESG data, we looked at various backup topologies, disk to disk, disk to tape, disk to disk to tape, disk to cloud, etc. 37% of folks said that disk was their only method of recovery within their environments. But more notably, 73%, nearly 3 out of 4 folks, said that disk was their primary means of recovery before it eventually went to a tertiary disk, tertiary tape, or tertiary cloud. You'd be hard-pressed to convince me that disk to disk isn't always the best answer for primary backups and recoveries. But the question becomes, what about those other medium types? I will also tell you, by the way, tape is in use in 56% of all environments, while cloud is in use in 7% of environments, and disk to cloud is only in use in 2%. Why is that? Why is that with all the hype around cloud, it's only 2% of the environment, 7% if you include disk to disk for primary recovery, and then to cloud as a tertiary tier? If that's the question, the answer is SLAs. When ESG looked at recovery SLAs and tolerances of downtime, both overall as well as those users of current backup as a service offerings, we found the same thing. In both cases, recovering directly from cloud wasn't going to let them meet the SLAs or their recovery RTO and RPOs that they had come to expect. Couple that with the fact that when we asked current users of backup as a service how frequently they were doing backups, we often found they were doing restores on every couple hours, hourly, even down in the minutes range. Well, if you're going to be recovering data every few minutes to hours, coming straight from the cloud repeatedly may have some challenges for you. So disk to cloud absolutely seems like it's going to be the way of the future as long as you're first recovering from disk and then cloud is that tertiary tier. But even that really has 2 different flavors. It's kind of like having one box of Legos, but 2 different instruction manuals. You go from primary storage, primary disk, onto a secondary disk, and then from there you go to the cloud, but there's really 2 different ways to get there. Certainly you could use a cloud-based backup solution that has an intermediary appliance. That way the cloud-based solution is first and foremost, but oh, by the way, you get your faster restores from the cache that's on-prem before it goes off. Or you could have an on-premise traditional backup solution, disk to disk, and then simply strap cloud-based storage onto that and extend it across the way. Either way, it's disk to cloud. Either way, it's one box of Legos and 2 different instruction manuals. So with all that in mind, what should you do? Let me offer a little bit of advice. Start first by defining your recovery goals, and then let the business-driven choices determine what your data protection methods are. Backups, snapshots, replication, whatever. Secondly, recognize that multiple data protection methods doesn't necessarily necessitate multiple vendor stacks, multiple different kinds of software and services, protection storage silos, management interfaces, etc. And then lastly, expect that cloud will be part of your data protection strategy, but don't assume it is a silver bullet that makes all the problems of backup go away. First and foremost, not all backup as a cloud providers are the same. When ESG actually looked at backup providers, we saw a wide range of preferences of whom you might want to consume that from specialized backup software providers to current on-premise backup solutions now offering services, etc. There's a range there that you need to be aware of. One of the questions you need to consider when you're looking at your sources, do they actually understand backup in its own right and not just another service for them to offer? You should also think about, will they be here in 5 years? And oh, by the way, how flexible is that disk to cloud implementation? Do you actually get Legos, or is it pre-built and non-flexible when you get it? Secondly, you should be thinking about the fact that SLA and ROI is king. Don't base your decision based on dollars per gigabyte. And that will drive not only vendor selection, but also likely a discussion of on-prem versus a hybrid topology. And once you're thinking about that, you should start thinking about, you probably want to start with just extending your on-premise solution for servers to the cloud using tertiary storage. Whereas for your endpoint devices, particularly BYOD, jump on backup as a service for every endpoint you got. Cannot do that fast enough. So if servers are extended and endpoint devices are BAS, remote branch office, kind of a coin toss based on your topology, your cost model, how distributed your administration is, etc. So you've got some choices, but hopefully this gives you some ideas for moving forward with it. Thanks for watching. I'm Jason Buffington with ESG.